Your thoughts become reality. But what is reality? And how do you create reality? So we want things in life. We want to create life circumstances. We want to bring things about. We want to manifest. But as we are busy wanting and realizing that we don't have it and wanting it some more, we start creating a lot of roadblocks for ourselves. For the way that we create reality is through our vibration. Thoughts, feelings, have a vibration and a frequency. That frequency is a match for other frequencies and things come together. So we are magnets. Now, oftentimes people speak about manifesting. But you do not really need to manifest. There's actually a hidden law that's not really spoken about when it comes to creating our reality. So what is this law? And what are the steps in truly becoming aligned with manifesting our true reality without law of attraction, without a series of steps that are complicated or that we have to jump through hoops and do it for so many seconds and that many seconds? What is something that we can do instantly? Every moment, moment by moment by moment by moment by moment. And that is the law of expectancy. See, oftentimes we do not get the things that we want in life because we do not expect them to come about. So we are in a state of neediness. We do not expect this thing to come about. So we do not expect something to come about. We are worried, and a bunch of other negative emotions start to rise up. A series of wrenches that we throw in our own road. The law of expectancy is a simple law that reduces and completely eliminates any friction between us and what we want. And there's no amount of time that is needed to apply it. See, for example, you might want a specific thing, some money, or a person to show up in your life. When you are relaxed about it, when you expect that this thing will come to you, and you do not worry about when, or if it's not there, that it's not there, and you expect it to come about, it does come when you are a vibrational match to it. But when you do the opposite, when you look around you and it's not there, you're worried, and you lose the expectancy aspect of it, then the thing doesn't come about. This especially happens with bigger things that we want. For example, you might want something simple. You might not have a lot of resistance about finding a few cents, and you'll find a few cents somewhere. Maybe you don't have a lot of resistance about a friend sending you a message, and that friend sends you a message, or whatever it is, maybe remembering something, or finding something in your home that is very small that you're not really worried about, that you expect to find it. But even if you don't have any major expectations about it, you still find it. And so the law of expectancy, you don't need to have a certain amount of, I have little expectancy or big expectancy. It's just you have a certain level of expectancy about things. You expect to find it. But if you don't, you do not have any resistance about it. So many people do not have this expectancy. They do not think that the thing they want will actually come about. And so they don't come about. And it's rooted deep within us. And oftentimes in the surface you say, of course I expect it to come about, of course. But in that of courseness, you feel your own resistance. You feel that wrench in your own road. Because what that does is it takes us away from a knowingness. When we have a knowingness, we are calmer. We are more inspired. So even if, let's say, we want something, and there's a series of actions that we must take on our part to meet this thing in the middle somewhere, then the action is inspired. When we don't expect to have it, then the action is uninspired by our expectancy, by our deep knowingness. It's inspired by our lack of expectancy. It's inspired by our doubt. And our doubt is keeping us from it. And so here's a few things that you can do right now. Apply your imagination. You have imagination, right? And how do you apply your imagination? A lot of people think, well, I apply my imagination to visualize. And yes, you can visualize, you can create pictures in your head. But unless there's an emotional charge behind it, then whatever you're imagining is simply an image. When there's emotion behind it, it gets recorded in our minds. And the mind sees this as truth and reality. It's important also to realize that everything exists all at once, all right here and right now. We think, well, we measure time very linearly. But in a multidimensional universe, which is what we are part of right now, except that many don't realize it, they think, well, I just exist in this time and space. That's how time works, that's how space works. It takes 5 miles to get from my house to the grocery store. It takes 10 minutes to get from my house to the beach or wherever else you're going, to your job, 30 minutes. In a multidimensional universe, that is not how time works. All of time and all events are happening all at once. So as you become a match for this multidimensional universe, what you want can show up like that. But oftentimes we're not ready because we're not using our imagination correctly. We don't really have that expectancy. And when we don't have that expectancy, we don't have that sense of knowingness. When we apply our imagination, it's so that we can be in the now in a new reality, correct? Because oftentimes when we think about the things that we want, we think about them in the past. We think about them in the future. I had this thing or I want this thing, instead of I have this thing now. So why this is important is because your mind actually, your unconscious mind does not really understand this concept of time that your logical mind understands so linearly. That is why when you dream, you can be in so many different times and dimensions all at once. You can be flying, you can be dying and rebirthing. It's quite amazing. So when you engage your imagination, you want to do the same, and you want to do it now. It's happening right here, right now. Now, being in the now is something that has been talked about a lot recently, but it's something that is one of the toughest things for many to actually practice. Because so many of the things that we want are right here, right now, because everything that is happening and that has ever happened is happening all right here, right now. See, that's so tough. That is so mind-boggling sometimes to process. But that is why we have this gift of the imagination, because it allows us to see this reality is happening right here, right now. And what's amazing to also notice is that your brain cannot distinguish between your imagination and your reality when your imagination is engaged with emotion. So you want to do it right here, right now. That is the power of engaging that law of expectancy. That is how you activate it. Because you say, well, it is right here, right now. And that is what the brain is also activating. Your emotions are getting activated. And what's happening next? Your frequency is being activated now at a certain level. That is a better match for the things that you really want. Last but not least, you need a sense of peace with the readiness that is required to be a vibrational match for what you want. And so oftentimes, this is described as patience. People say, well, you need patience, right? Have patience, but you do not really need patience. What you really need is to be in the moment. When you are in the moment, you know that when you are ready for something, it comes to you. When you are living in the past, when you are living in the future, you are wondering, I don't have this thing, or I want this thing. I don't have this thing, or I want this thing. And it is not making you a vibrational match. It's not putting you in that readiness. So why you want this sense of peace is so that you can be in the now. When you are in the now, you are becoming closer and closer in the ready factor, where you are ready for this thing to come to you. Sometimes we will manifest things we want and they might happen really fast, but just as fast as they happen, just as fast they are gone from our life. Why? Because we were not okay with this readiness. We're like, no. And often people say this as well. They'll say, well, you will never be ready. That is not true. You can be a vibrational match to be ready for the things that you want. And that is the most important readiness. We're not talking about a physical readiness. We are not talking about a readiness of circumstances. We are talking about a readiness within. So do not be fooled when people say, you'll never really be ready to do this thing or that thing. It is truly a vibrational readiness that you are that is really the intention here. And the way that you do that is by being in the now, by applying your imagination to really understand how your brain works, to understand what that nowness is, and to activate the law of expectancy. And when you have that knowingness, you are a closer match to that readiness. And so you see, the cycle is complete. When a cycle is complete, something in your life that you really want comes about to be, and it comes about to be at the right time, at the right place, correct? You are familiar with that, the right time at the right place. And that is how you bring about the things that you want in your life that are truly a match, not just for your superficial self, your ego self, but for your true soul self.